having been on TV for over 2.5 decades, SpongeBob is a pretty special show to multiple generations, and one that has had many different special episodes over the years. Some of these have been good, but others not so much. And so today, I will be going over my top 5 worst SpongeBob specials, beginning with number 5, The Sponge Who Could Fly. This one is a 22-minute long special from season 3, but only by technicality. Technically, it's a 22-minute special. But this is where we already get to one of my biggest issues with the special. This is one of those SpongeBob specials that have Patchy the Pirate segments, but it kind of feels more like just a Patchy special, as the Patchy segment at the beginning of it feels so drawn out. And then, when you think it's gonna end, you get Patchy sitting down to watch walk cycles. And yeah, his reaction to them spawned into being a pretty iconic meme. But watching this moment and waiting for the actual episode to finally begin, it just feels like a massive waste of time. And I'm saying that as someone who does like Patchy as a character. He can be a fun character to see pop up sometimes in the show. But in this episode, it feels as if they didn't know how to fill 22 minutes. And so instead of telling a SpongeBob story that needed to be told in 22 minutes, they told a SpongeBob story that's about 13 minutes long, aka only a couple minutes longer than an average episode, with about 9 minutes of Patchy stuff. And the Patchy stuff is such a gimmick. It hypes up this lost episode of SpongeBob when it wasn't some lost episode, as I've said. It's basically just an average episode. It's not a very enjoyable one to watch. Okay, it does have some good qualities. It's about SpongeBob getting inflatable pants and becoming a superhero who flies around helping people, which is a pretty good concept that you can take in multiple different directions and have a lot of fun with. And the episode has some decent songs that show how capable Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob, is of singing. And there are some funny moments in the episode, like the Cannonball Jenkins gag and SpongeBob's flashbacks to his grandpa. But what they do with the concept of SpongeBob becoming a superhero is the complete opposite of satisfying. Instead of being like the season 9 episode where Patrick becomes a hero and goes around causing trouble trying to do good things, and then eventually has to fight against a Mermaid Man villain, a pretty entertaining and fun episode, this one just has SpongeBob wanting to fly around in jellyfish fields, but then people in Bikini Bottom keep forcing him to do a bunch of tedious tasks, and then when he decides enough is enough, they just hunt him down. The Bikini Bottomites are so unlikable and mean in this episode, like in other bad episodes, like Someone's in the Kitchen with Sandy. Number 4, Truth or Square. Oh boy, you guys knew this one would be on the list. By the time season 6 came around, SpongeBob had been going on TV for 10 years. A massive milestone for any show. And so, logically, it seemed like a good idea to make an anniversary special. And so that's exactly what they did, with a special titled Truth or Square. One which would go on to become very infamous. And okay, I am not a huge fan of this episode. It's bad, in my opinion at least. But I do think there are some good moments in it, and before going over the bad, I want to go over what I liked about it. CeeLo Green's edition of the theme song was a nice and fun little take on the one we all know. I also love the visuals that play during it. The stop motion was an awesome looking switch up, and a cool way to begin a big anniversary anniversary special. And the animation segments in the episode at least make you think they will be good because of how good the opening scene is of SpongeBob getting ready to go to the Krusty Krab as the song Day Like This plays. One of the best SpongeBob songs in my opinion. And I also did like the scene we got of Patchy going over various versions of what the SpongeBob opening sequence would be like if it was about other SpongeBob characters. And that was pretty fun. And I actually loved the classic black and white animations that they made for the special. The one that's SpongeBob singing about his job at the Krusty Krab, and the one that was a parody of old drug commercials. 9 out of 10 doctors recommend eating Krabby Patties, and Mr. Krabs saying, "I'm a doctor, as far as you know." And the song Pink sings, I guess, was okay, but the rest of this episode, oof. Okay, so, I talked about how the Patchy segments overstays their welcome in The Sponge Who Could Fly, but man, they do that 10 times as much in this special. And at least in that one, Patchy goes on a treasure hunt and finds a lost episode. In this one, I'm sorry, but there is zero substance in any of the Patchy stuff. Except for, I guess, Patchy trying to find his way to Bikini Bottom, but not even making it there anyways. Patchy in this episode is basically not even much of a character, but instead is basically just a plot device. And Nickelodeon's way of unnaturally jamming in a bunch of big celebrity guests whose names they could use as a way of advertising the special. He spends so much time just sitting around at an animation studio, flipping through a bunch of phone numbers, and finding celebrities like LeBron James, and that one puppet that is basically only remembered nowadays for that one beef he had with Eminem. And Patchy just dials up these big name celebrities and awkwardly talks to them for a few minutes, and then just hangs up and calls another celebrity. There is no creative vision to this. It's just the definition of soulless and screams of corporate meddling. Like, make sure you guys include this celebrity guest cameo, and also don't forget this one too. And none of these celebrities even have anything to do with SpongeBob or anything like that. If you want to make a big thing about having a bunch of celebrity guests in a SpongeBob special, at least have them be Nickelodeon actors or people from other popular kids shows. And we haven't even talked about my problems with the actual SpongeBob segments of this episode. It's basically just SpongeBob characters crawling around the entire episode, stuck inside vents at the Krusty Krab, that somehow happen to be both under but also above the Krusty Krab. And while they are stuck in the vents, not a lot happens. We just get a bunch of setups where they make it seem like the special is gonna have the characters looking back on classic moments from the series. Basically a clip show, which would be a logical way to celebrate everything that led up to this anniversary special. But instead, all we see is a bunch of fake flashbacks and bait and switch moments that Nickelodeon then took out of context and used as yet another way to heavily market this special to get as many people watching it as possible when it came out. Like, there was a moment advertised where Mr. Krabs was gonna tell SpongeBob what the secret formula is, but in the special, they basically just walked all over the place to make sure no one was following them. And Nickelodeon also advertised that in the special, SpongeBob and Sandy were gonna officially get married. Two characters that they know a ton of SpongeBob fans do ship, but in the actual scene, it was just them acting in a play, not an actual wedding. And in my opinion, the scene shows how the two characters just do not have that type of chemistry. I think it is a good decision just keeping them as friends, not giving into what the people who ship them want them to do. But fundamentally, I just have a massive issue with hyping up a massive 10th anniversary special and then just having it it consists of you basically clickbaiting the audience while at the same time shoving in a bunch of meaningless celebrity cameos. And the show can't have another 10th anniversary. This is always gonna be the SpongeBob 10th anniversary special. And this is what they did with it? Just so disappointing. But they did go on to make a 20th anniversary special, which I also have a lot of stuff to say about, and we'll be covering in a future video, so stay tuned for that. Number 3, best day ever. Okay, now this one is more of a special event than a special episode, but just give me a bit of time to make my case for putting this on the list. In 2006, Nickelodeon began hyping up with a bunch of promos, games, etc. what became known as the Best Day Ever Marathon, which was basically this massive 24-hour event in which a ton of fans got to vote on what they think are the best 100 episodes of the show, and then those episodes aired back to back on TV. All of this leading up to what was the debut of an, at the time, new season 4 episode, Best Day Ever. And what did all of this hype and fan investment own up to? Not even a half-hour long special. An 11-minute long episode that has some of the worst storytelling in the entire series. And I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but this episode doesn't even feel like an actual episode of SpongeBob. It feels like a badly written fanfic by a 5-year-old. It makes that little sense. Okay, so basically the episode begins with an admittedly pretty fun opening scene of SpongeBob waking up and the sun smiling at him as he happily gets up and the song Best Day Ever plays, which is a very fun, upbeat, feel-good song. I love everything about this scene and the song that plays over it. If this was just a one-off music video that they made to tie into the series and promote it, I would probably give it a 10 out of 10. But this is not a music video. This is just the beginning of an entire episode. And unfortunately, it all goes downhill after this moment. See, what then follows is SpongeBob trying to do multiple things on his best day ever to-do list, and stuff goes bad and he must then do something to help one of his friends. He leaves to go jellyfishing with Patrick, but Patrick breaks his jellyfishing net twice. So SpongeBob gives him his. Sandy's tree dome has a leak. Then SpongeBob, he accidentally fixes it. You will notice that not only is the structure of this episode very paint by numbers, but none of this is funny. It's just something happens and then something else happens. There's not even an attempt at telling jokes or even making you feel something. Anything, not even discussed, throughout most of this episode. There is one funny scene though. The scene where SpongeBob is trying to sneak into a concert and the guy outside isn't letting him in. So he tries to use a puppet to sneak his way into the building, but then the other guy is also using a puppet to keep him out. That made me laugh. But that was the only moment in this episode that I found actually funny. And this entire concert section of the episode is also where the story in it completely falls apart. And we see just how bad the storytelling in it is. You know who the musicians SpongeBob and all of these people in Bikini Bottom are going to see a live concert performance of? Take one guess. Squidward, aka the character who we see everyone in town always crafts on for being bad at playing a clarinet. It has already been established in the show in multiple episodes, time and time again, that either Squidward has no musical talent, or at least if he does, no one in Bikini Bottom believes he does. So why is Squidward performing a live concert and why and how did he get so many people to willingly see him live, and then clap their fins at the end of it. And even if we just put that aside, if Squidward was given the chance to play live music in front of a massive audience, why would he willingly put SpongeBob of all people on the VIP list? That is insanely out of character. This entire episode shows, in my opinion, that there wasn't much thought put into telling an actual good story, or one that would even make sense in the context of the show. I think Nickelodeon probably just had them throw together a bunch of stuff so that they could make an episode surrounding the Best Day Ever song, so that they could have an excuse to have this massive Best Day Ever TV marketing gimmick to get more eyes on the channel. And now, because of that, the thing that instantly comes to so many people's minds when they think of the Best Day Ever is this very disappointing and disjointed SpongeBob episode and event. Which is a shame too, because it is a very good, fun, and positive, upbeat song. One that wasn't even made for this episode, but was instead made for the awesome original SpongeBob movie. And in my opinion, it was utilized and done justice way better by the Broadway SpongeBob musical that would eventually come out, in which, by the conclusion of it, SpongeBob sang a slightly different version of the song after this long journey he went on of danger, struggling, and trying to save the town he lives in, showing that despite everything he may have went through and everything that happened, SpongeBob is still able to hold on to that hope that any day could still be the best day ever, even if it could also be his last day ever, which is a message to the audience that is so contagiously positive and uplifting. Anyways, I'm sorry for getting so passionate about that musical just now. I made an entire video about the televised version of it, if you want to check it out after this video. I've said it before, but that musical is my favorite thing that has ever aired on TV. And its positive messages about staying optimistic and never giving up, despite what life may throw at you, just resonated so much with me when I was in high school, and not only was one of the main things that got me through the pandemic, but would go on to define my outlook on life going forward. Anyways though, on to the next episode on this list. Number 2, SpongeBob, You're Fired. You guys want a SpongeBob special that has Mr. Krabs fires SpongeBob over 5 cents and also makes fun of the unemployed? Well, this SpongeBob special does both of those things. I'm getting ahead of myself. Because positivity is my toxic trait, I do want to go over the positives I found in this episode before going over everything else about it. Gary was actually so cute in this episode. When SpongeBob comes home all sad, Gary goes over to him and asks him, "Meow Matto." That was so wholesome. And also when Patrick shows up and is crying because he heard SpongeBob crying and it made him sad. Aww. And the scene of SpongeBob trying to get a job at a bunch of different restaurants that we haven't ever seen before this special, the pizza one, the taco one, etc., was a very fun sequence that allowed us to see another side of the SpongeBob universe that we don't often see, which is food establishments that are completely separate entities from the Krusty Krab and Chum Buckets. And I also enjoyed the following scene of SpongeBob making homemade snail food for Gary, and then getting kidnapped by all of the owners of said restaurants as they fight over who gets to keep SpongeBob as an employee, and then SpongeBob getting saved by Squidward in a Krabby Patty costume. Everything involving these other restaurants, I'm telling you, was the best stuff in the special. If they brought these restaurants back for a future episode and had it just be about them all fighting to steal each other's business or something, I would love that idea. But unfortunately, that stuff does not make up this entire special. The main concept of it is kinda crappy. Mr. Krabs literally files SpongeBob to save 5 cents. And I know he's always been a very greedy character, but come on. He also is a character shown to be like a father figure to SpongeBob. And SpongeBob has been shown time and time again to be the main reason the Krusty Krab is able to stay in business and make a ton of money. To not just have Mr. Krabs throw all of that away for, again, 5 cents, but to then have that be the center of the conflict in an entire SpongeBob special is a bit much. What's also a bit much is having SpongeBob just cry for like a minute straight after getting fired from Mr. Krabs. Yeah, I get it. Of course something like that would make someone very sad, and getting fired from a job might make you cry. But as I will talk about in another upcoming video, there is almost no sound more annoying than SpongeBob just crying, especially for an extended period of time. And that's not something he used to do much at all in the classic era of SpongeBob. Crying a bunch was a character trait that he basically only got after the movie came out, and was one of the many defining qualities of the infamous dark ages of SpongeBob. And again, it makes sense why he would cry after getting fired from his job, but SpongeBob's cry is just so loud and obnoxious. What I have an issue with most in this special though is its kinda problematic implications. After he gets fired from the Krusty Krab, Patrick goes around teaching SpongeBob how to enjoy being unemployed because, oh, unemployed? More like fun employed. You get to just annoy people all day and get free stuff if you don't have a job. And yeah, Patrick has always been a bit of a lazy bum who does nothing all day, which can be one of the many ways he is a very funny and entertaining character, but the way this episode paints unemployment makes it seem like such a fun, glamorous lifestyle that it's not. And it makes it seem like people who don't have a job are just a bunch of lazy bums. And this episode came out over a decade ago, but that implication can be pretty problematic, especially when we are currently living in an age where a ton of people are struggling in America's not very good economy. And sometimes people just get laid off and lose their jobs for stuff that's out of their control. Company politics type stuff. Like SpongeBob in this episode, losing his job so Mr. Krabs can save a bit of money. Now, I want to be very clear in this video, I do not think the people who made this episode intentionally gave it such an anti-unemployment message. They are probably all good people and probably wouldn't do something like that. It's just a very unfortunate accidental implication that haunts this special. But what I want to emphasize about it again is that this special at least has a few good moments I can say I enjoyed watching. Unfortunately, I can't say that about the next one I gotta talk about. My number one least favorite SpongeBob special, Creepaway Camp. I swear, Camp Coral as a brand must have some type of hex attached to it. Everything that has to do with Camp Coral, the movie, the spin-off, the crossover episodes with the main show, it's all bad. And I'm not even one of those people who are always going off about how Camp Coral is disrespectful to Steven Hillenburg's legacy. The quotes by him that people use as a way of defending that position about Camp Coral are out of context and from interviews that he gave decades ago. He might have actually liked what the people at Nickelodeon have been doing with the franchise in SpongeBob spin-offs if he was still alive. He also might have hated it. We have no way of knowing, and honestly, I'm okay with that. But not everyone has to be. You can avoid watching Camp Coral and stuff that has to do with it if you want to, because of all of the controversies. But what I care about, controversies aside, is what they've been doing with the spin-offs good? Well, I find quite a bit of what they've done with the Patrick show to be pretty dang good. It's actually a very creative show that has many interesting and unique concepts that they put into it. But when it comes to Camp Coral, it just feels like a kidified version of SpongeBob. SpongeBob, yes, is technically a show made for kids, although I would argue it's more of a kid-friendly family show, meaning a show kids and adults can watch and enjoy. But Camp Coral feels like a show and franchise that is made exclusively for little kids. Here's SpongeBob characters as kids at a summer camp, and not doing much of anything interesting or entertaining. It just feels like a safe, watered down, culprit version of SpongeBob. Like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, but for SpongeBob. And whenever Camp Coral crosses over with the main show in an episode, which has happened multiple times now, I get that same feeling and vibe. It always just feels off. And Creepaway Camp is no exception. It's basically a season 14 Halloween special that's about the characters going, "Hey guys, let's all head back to Camp Coral for a reunion in celebration of when we were all kids going to summer camp. Oh no, there's a creepy mysterious bad guy going around snatching and potentially killing each of us one by one." And by one, I do mean one by one. It takes this episode so long for the inevitable to happen. We already know all of the characters are gonna basically get captured by the bad guy. It's kinda obvious where the story is going, but for almost the entire episode, we just have a bunch of the characters walking around, not doing anything very funny or anything that actually moves the plot along. Doing only mildly amusing stuff, like sitting by a campfire and playing volleyball, as each of them gets captured one by one. And then eventually the surviving characters begin taking the threat seriously. But then it gets revealed that it isn't actually even a threat anyways, just one of the many forgettable characters from Camp Coral, the spin-off. And what makes it special even worse is that it's 43 minutes long, but so little happens in it that it feels like it's an hour and a half long, at least. And watching it was so boring, I'm not even joking, I felt like I needed to take a nap after watching it. But instead of napping, here I am talking about it. Oh, one final thing I want to mention that was just a small moment, but one I took issue with, was how at the beginning of the episode, Patrick tries to eat a living clam because he thinks it's food, even though there was an entire episode about him and SpongeBob becoming the parents of a clam. So yeah, that's kinda awkward. The one positive thing I will say about this special is that, Nowlene's feet aside, this episode has some pretty dang good looking visuals and backgrounds. Visually, this episode is fantastic. Everything else about it is terrible though. And this is easily, in my opinion, the worst SpongeBob special, because watching it just completely drained my soul. But what do you guys think of all of these episodes I talked about? What are your least favorite specials? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Cartoon Post out.